Hello, Tony from NU Aqua here. Let me show you how easy it is to install your new tank RO system right under your kitchen sink. This installation guide covers both the pump and no pump reverse osmosis systems with a tank. After unpacking, let's review all the components of your RO system. The first thing that we have lined up here is the upper RO system assembly. This has your carbon polishing filter and your RO membrane filters right on top, and they're all pre-connected. These are fitting connections that we will inspect just to make sure that they're all tight before we proceed. Next up, 3 filter housings. First, you have your carbon block filter, then your granular activated carbon filter, and finally your sediment filter. One 4.8 gallon water storage tank, 2 filter housing wrenches, 4 colored hose sections, 1 tank ball valve, 1 water feed adapter, 1 drain saddle, roll of Teflon tape, filter housing elbows, 1 TDS meter, 1 RO membrane that fits into the upper RO system assembly, a high quality faucet with an easy to use on and off valve, and the most important part of all, the leak stop valve. Please note that failure to install the leak stop valve will void the warranty on your RO system. So please install this. It'll save your cabinet and your house from any damage if a leak occurs. It's a really ingenious little device where right after your water feed adapter, this is in line. So then all of your connections in your whole system are after this. By flipping up this lever, that closes the valve in here. It has this little cartridge that fits inside this tray like this. It sits lowest in your cabinet right on the floor. If a leak occurs in anywhere in the system and starts leaking on the floor of your cabinet, this little cartridge will swell up and pop that lever up, which closes the valve. Simple and genius. Let's look at the tools you'll need for the job. You want an adjustable wrench, a 14mm wrench, black marker, a razor knife, Phillips screwdriver, and a 1/4" drill bit on a good drill. Let's define what the different stage systems are, starting with the stage 5. The stage 5 is your ground level baseline system, okay? So it has 1 sediment filter, 1 pre-carbon filter, and 1 carbon filter. But then you have your RO membrane in here, and you have your carbon polishing filter. That is the base system. Next up is stage 6 with the alkaline filter. So again, it has the same filters as before, the first 5, and then the 6th final stage is the alkaline filter. That helps improve, mineral content and the taste. Now the next stage 6 system replaces the alkaline filter with a UV filter. So this is ultraviolet light that kills bacteria and things like that. So if your water has a unique problem with that area, this will help take care of it. So stage 6 with the UV filter. And finally, we have the 7-stage system. This builds upon the foundational 5-stage system by adding the UV and the alkaline filters as a whole. So that's the stage 7 RO system. Keep in mind that 5 and 7 stage systems come pre-attached. 6 stage systems require the installation of the alkaline or UV filter. What you will see me do is attaching the filters in a couple different configurations just so you can see how it'll work for your situation, and it gives you a better understanding of the unit as a whole. Let's start with an inspection of the upper RO system. So you can see that we have these pre-configured connections. Really what you want to do is you want to make sure that they're pushed in all the way. And really, if you take off the clip, just like that, then you can make sure it's pushed in all the way. And we'll replace the clip. Let's do that with each one. Remove the clip, push the tubing in all the way, then replace the blue clip. That'll ensure a leak-free installation. What we're going to focus on next is the elbow installation. That's these little elbows here. This step is only for no pump systems. If you have a system with a pump, you may skip this step. There's two of them, one for each side. And there's two different types available. If yours has an O-ring, then no Teflon tape is needed and you can continue the installation as per our instructions. If there's no O-ring, then Teflon tape is needed. The Teflon will come pre-installed on the elbows for you, but if you need to redo the Teflon tape for any reason, we'll show you how here. So what you do is you take your Teflon tape, and I like to go counterclockwise. So we're going to do 9 wraps. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just like that. And then smooth it into the threads and continue the installation. You'll notice on this side that it says in right here. So we'll take one of our elbows and install it right on this side. Just make sure that you get it turned in all the way for a proper seal. Be careful not to over torque these elbows. It is okay if you still partially see the O-ring. This is the out. And a proper seal here also, just like that. And you'll notice that this is red, so that goes right in there like that. Don't forget your blue clip. Next, let's install the filter housing. We'll take off the plastic from the filter and put it right in the housing. Let's get more familiar with our filters. This is a polypropylene filter, and these notches on the side, what they do is catch all the sediment. Things like sand, silt, sediment, rust, all the particulates that are in your water. Water goes in through the side and out the center to your system. You'll notice that the O-rings are treated with a food grade lubricant. This is something that you don't want to clean off. You want to leave it on so that it gets a nice tight seal. Before installing the housing, double check that the O-ring is seated properly and has no physical damage. Once you determine that your O-rings are good to go, complete the install. Next up is the pre-carbon filter, and let's take a look at its filter a little closer. You can see that it has a plastic exterior. Each end is very different. This has a rubber seal that's up, so when you take things out of the plastic, keep them oriented in that direction, but you can see that it has these vents, a rubber seal, and the bottom has vents on the side, so in the housing, water goes in through the side, so all around it, up through the bottom, through the filter, and then out of here to the rest of the system. Let's install it on the housing. All right, let's focus on the final piece, the carbon block filter. You can see that it's a little bit different. It's got a screen exterior. And you can see that each end looks the same, okay? Because water goes in through the side. It's sealed top and bottom, flows out the top. Whichever way the label was oriented, that's the way that you need to place it into the housing. But yeah, it's a nice filter that sucks everything in through the side, captures everything on the outside, and pure clean water comes out the top. Let's install. Now's the perfect time to take your wrench and give it one final turn till they're straight. You'll notice that the labels may not always be perfectly in front of the system, so please be careful not to over tighten these filter housings in an effort to get the labels perfectly straight. If you purchased the Stage 6 system, let's go ahead and add the alkaline filter now. What this does is increases alkalinity because all of these good minerals that are in here add that great taste to your water that a lot of the filtering and city water can remove. If you purchased a 7-stage system, these filters will already come pre-assembled. But if you purchased a 6-stage alkaline, follow these instructions. So the water line that would normally go to your faucet, what we're going to do is we're just going to add this right in the top here. And this guy. And this guy right here. There we go. Don't forget the all-important blue clip. So once that's installed, you would connect this end to your faucet. First, we'll cut the tubing. What you want to do is you want to get a sharp blade and you want to put it across the tubing. And I like to use an old board to cut on. And I'll go across the tubing and I'll push with the tip using a downward stroke to cut through it and then cut the remaining part off. See how nice and square that is? That way it will fit into the quick connect fitting and not leak. If you ordered the 7-stage system, everything will come pre-assembled. If you ordered the 6-stage system, I'll walk you through on that assembly now. Now that the filter housing is installed, let's look at the remaining parts. So there's this glass tube that the bulb fits into. So kind of looks like a lab tube. This keeps the water outside of the bulb. Okay, so it's closed off there. So we have that. Then we have our bulb. We have our end cap and a silicone O-ring. Let's go ahead and place the glass tube inside of the filter housing. I'm going to take the O-ring and place it on the end of the tube like that. This is what's going to seal the very end of it. We're going to place it in here, and inside of there is a spring down on this end. And what that does is it helps keep the glass level. Let's go ahead and insert our bulb. You can see that we have the plug that goes to the ballast. So put the cap in there, have the cover, the plug. Now you can see that the end of the bulb is not really a square, it's more of a rectangle. So what we'll do is we'll go and push it into the connector. There we go, just like that. Make sure to fit it all the way in there. Now, the reason I'm using a tissue, and you can use gloves, mechanics gloves, or latex gloves, but you don't want any of your oils of your skin on the bulb at all. What will happen is it'll shorten the life of the bulb. It'll create hot spots because the oils will heat up on this bulb and shorten its life dramatically. So always use a tissue, gloves, or anything that keeps your skin off of the bulb. All right, well, let's go into inserting it into the housing. Now, with the spring in there, it kind of makes it a little, puts a little pressure on you. So you got to make sure you push and you turn it enough so that it seals properly, and you're good. Let's plug the white wire with the clip right in the side of the ballast. There you go. Let's go ahead and connect the water line between the ultraviolet light and the alkaline filter. The all-important blue clips. All right, let's take a look at the feed water adapter. So this is where your water comes in on the cold line. Now the cool thing about it is it fits a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch fittings, and you could take this guy and put it on top if the hoses to your sink, to the cold side of your faucet, are this big. So it'll work for your situation with all the parts come in the box. Let's go ahead and install the feed water adapter. First, you're going to turn off the cold water line. After closing the cold water valve, remember to open the faucet to let any remaining water come out. Otherwise, when you disconnect the hoses, water will spray everywhere. Then we'll remove the connecting hose to the faucet. It's a good idea to look in your fittings and make sure the O-rings are seated in place. Next up is installing our drain saddle. So this clamps on each side of the pipe and allows it to drain out properly. What we're going to do is we're going to mount it here. You want it before the trap system, okay? You don't want it after that. If you have a sink that's a double bowl sink and you have another horizontal pipe here, you could drill the hole in the top of that and that would work out fine. Otherwise, it goes right on the side here. It's going to be a perfect fit. Take our black marker and I'm going to mark a hole around the side here with our 1/4-inch drill bit. Put it around the side here. Comes with this foam gasket that has adhesive on one side. What we'll do is we'll peel that off and place it right over the hole. And make sure you get it exactly over it, so that you can aim your saddle on there properly. To make sure you line it up, I would take another drill bit. Be careful not to damage the fitting, but you're just poking it through like that. It's pretty loose. I would put it in the hole, seat it in there like that. That'll help you line it up. And you can take the other side, and like that. Put your bolt through there. One thing to notice is the saddle on this side has a space for the nut to fit into so that it doesn't turn. That way all you need is a Phillips screwdriver to tighten it. Once you have the nuts threaded onto the screws, once it's kind of snug, take your drill bit, put in there and make sure your hole is lined up. Otherwise your drain will be off. That looks good there. Be careful not to move it. Keep snugging it down. I like to go back and forth until the sides are clamped all the way shut. Getting close. You can see a gap closing up here. All right, now it won't budge at all. Should be good to go. Next up, let's install the faucet. If your installation requires drilling, locate the spot on your countertop where you would like the faucet and make sure that it hangs over the sink appropriately. The countertop we are installing on today is quartz, but keep in mind that these methods apply to granite or any other stone countertop that is prone to cracking. If you are drilling through quartz or granite, you will need to use clay to make a pool of water for drilling as so. When drilling into quartz or granite, you have to use a 5/8 diamond-tipped hole saw drill bit like we're using. When drilling into wood, laminate, or other non-stone countertops, drill a pilot hole using a 1/4-inch drill. Then switch to a 5/8 drill bit to finish the job. Let's go ahead and secure the faucet. First the rubber washer, then the big flanged nut. Spin it all the way up there until it's nice and tight. Then the final step is our quick connect. Goes on real easy, just threads on there and has an O-ring in the bottom of it. So once it's tightened on there, it won't leak. And it makes changing out the tubing really easy because it's a quick connect. Let's go ahead and install our tank ball valve. Using our Teflon tape, we're gonna go around the threads clockwise, kind of hold it on and stretch it out. We recommend 8 to 10 wraps of tape for a confident seal. remaining, then you can kind of push it into the threads. The way valves work in plumbing is if the handle is in line, then the water will flow. If it's cross, it won't. Let's go ahead and place the RO system right in the cabinet. Let's place our tank in here. We have a tank stand. Just like that. Let's go ahead and install our leak stop valve. You can see when the paddle is up, everything's off. Water won't flow. Find the lowest point in your cabinet and mount it there. This one only has a couple holes, so it's pretty easy to place in the bottom of the cabinet. Let's start making system connections with our red, blue, yellow, and black tubing. Let's focus on the incoming water with our red tube attached right here. In our non-pump system, you can just push it right into here all the way. Remember, your blue clip is what keeps it from leaking. If you purchased the pump system, there's a slight variation in where you connect. It's more on the front portion of the filter housings. All you do is put your tubing in on this side, put in your blue clip, good to go. Now that we've connected our inlet water line, we have to go towards the inlet. So that is the leak stop valve right over there. I like to get the tubing behind the filters over here. There you go. We're gonna go right in the front. Now for the all-important blue clip. Next, we're going to go from our leak stop valve right up to our water feed adapter. Couple blue clips to finish it off. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's talk about where your faucet line needs to go to. Right now, we have it on the outlet of the ultraviolet. If you were in the alkaline, you would go here. If you were in the carbon post, you would go here. It's basically water flows through in kind of a zigzag, and you would put it into the open position. So we have it in the UV, and that's the open position. Let's focus on our tank connections. That's going to be this yellow connector on this carbon polishing filter. For this connection, I'm going to use pretty much the whole length of yellow tubing because I'm going to go from here to way over here. So let's start on this end, right here in the carbon post. And there we go. Blue clip. Yep, and like the other one, I like to fish it all the way behind. With this fitting, unscrew this part. Place your yellow tube through it, that all the way in to the valve. And finger tighten. Next up, we're going to connect our drain tube. So we're going to look for the drain flow restrictor right there. Let's take one end of our tube, push it into that. Probably going to have to get back here and grab a hold of it. Let's mount this right in our drain saddle. All the way in. Very important. And our blue clip. Make sure it's seated well. Let's install the RO membrane. Let's start by removing the red tubing. Now let's use the wrench to ensure tightness and no leaks. Just like that. Now is the time to go in and check each and every fitting by pushing in. You can pull clips and try to push in if you suspect anything. But yeah, this is your shot at getting and checking every single connection and making sure that you have your blue clips on every single thing and that you've made the right connections to the right destinations. Make sure that you've used the wrench to tighten every single filter housing. Whether you have a non-pump system or a pump system, initial startup is essentially the same. The pump just assists a low pressure situation in making sure that the tank gets full properly because you're dealing with the pressurized system. If you have adequate pressure, you're good to go. Please note it's important to have your water pressure in the correct range for the system. A no pump system is between 45 and 80 psi. A pump system, the water pressure recommended is 45 psi and as low as 15 psi. Please refer to our water testing video for more information and how to adjust your water pressure. Click the link above. All right, the final thing to check is to make sure your valves are in the off position. When they cross the path, they're off. When they're in line with the path, then water will flow. So this one is the same. If you turn it that way, that means water will flow. Crossways means water will stop. Always check to make sure the tank is off and to make sure that the paddle is up and that you place the tablet in it, just like that. And finally, make sure everything's plugged in. Now that we've done a full system check, we're gonna turn on our faucet. Yep, just to make sure water's flowing. Right now, we're just checking for leaks since we put in these fittings here. Everything looks good, all of that. And we're going to make sure that this is off and flip this lever. So no leaks, no leaks. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and turn the system on. Now we're watching for leaks. Can you hear the water running in there? You can hear how the air is exhausting from the system as it gets replaced by water. If you have a pump system, now's the time to plug in the pump when the system is full. All right, now stick your head in the cabinet and really check over every fitting and make sure that nothing's leaking. The fittings over there. So far, looks good. With the tank shut off and the system filled with water, let's turn on the faucet just to run out any particulates before we open the tank. Now go ahead and turn on the ball valve to fill up the tank. All right, so the tank is full. That took about 2 hours fill time. What we're gonna do now is drain the tank to get rid of any particulates or anything in the system. We're just gonna get it totally flushed out. So what I'm gonna do is turn the feed water valve off. If you have the pump, let's unplug that. And then what we're gonna do is just turn on the faucet. And it'll drain the tank in about 5 minutes. So far, the water looks pretty clear, so there's not a lot of particulates in there from the filters, but sometimes you'll have little black particulates, and that's normal, that's okay. But so far, so good. You can see how the stream is not as strong as it used to be, so we're getting near to the end of the tank. So down to a thin stream. That's what it looks like when the tank is empty. Let's turn the valve back on to fill the tank again. If you have a pump system, now's the time to plug it in. Now that you're filling your tank a second time, it's good to go and look at all your connections and make sure there's no leaks. Looks good. Congratulations on the installation of your NU Aqua RO system. So now what I suggest that you do is to go in and drain the tank, fill the tank, drain the tank, fill the tank. Do that 3 or 4 times. That way, any particulates that are in the filters or anything will come out. The water runs clean, clear, it tastes good, it looks good, it's nice and healthy. There are times that the water can look milky white. What this is just air bubbles in it, so that should clear up over time if you experience that. So over the next couple of weeks, just take a peek under the cabinet a couple of times a day and make sure that nothing's leaking. You might have to push a tube back in there or something like that, but we hardly ever have any troubles like that. Just a good idea to check because we want your cabinet nice and dry. So from all of us at NU Aqua, thank you.